I never thought I'd end up here, telling this story. I always saw myself as the kind of woman who wouldn't get caught in something like this. I was the loyal type, the one who believed in commitment. But here I am, trying to make sense of everything that happened, trying to understand what went wrong. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive myself, but maybe sharing this will help me figure out why I did what I did. Maybe someone will read this and understand, or maybe they'll just think I'm a fool. Either way, I need to get it out. So, let me start at the beginning, even though I'm not sure where the beginning really is. I married Greg when I was 23. We were young, but everything felt perfect. He was funny, kind, always there for me. He was everything I thought I needed. But somewhere along the way, things started to feel off. It wasn't a big fight or anything obvious. It was just a gradual shift. We got comfortable. And I know that's normal in relationships, right? People get comfortable, they settle into routines. But for me, it felt like we were drifting. It was small things at first. Longer hours at work, less conversation at the end of the day, the routine becoming more routine. But it built up. It wasn't even about proximity, to be honest. I mean, yeah, that part of our relationship had gotten a little stale, but it was more than that. It was the feeling that I wasn't seen anymore. I felt like I was just there, like I existed in the background of his life, while he was focused on everything else. His job, his future, the plans we were supposed to have. And I tried to tell myself that it was normal, that we were just going through a rough patch. But the longer it went on, the more I felt invisible. Then, I met Evan. I know, it's always the workplace flirtation that turns into something more, but at the time, it felt harmless. Evan wasn't my type, at least not at first glance. He was short, a little nerdy, always wearing those thick glasses, not the kind of guy I'd usually go for. But there was something about him. It wasn't like he was trying to be charming or anything. He was just himself. I met him at work. He was in IT, helping us with some system updates. At first, it was all business. We'd chat about work stuff, tech problems, troubleshooting this or that. But soon, we started talking more. About life, about hobbies, about things we liked. One day, out of nowhere, he sent me a text. It was about a book he was reading, something random. But it made me smile, and I felt this weird little jolt in my chest, like, wait a second. Why does this feel so nice? So we started texting more. Small talk at first, but after a few weeks, the texts became longer, more personal. And I couldn't help myself. I started looking forward to hearing from him. And then came the lunch. He asked if I wanted to grab a bite one day after work. I knew it was innocent. I kept telling myself that. It's just lunch. I kept repeating. But as soon as I said yes, I knew it wasn't just lunch anymore. There was something about him, something in the way he made me feel. I was nervous the whole day before, like a schoolgirl with a crush. I couldn't stop thinking about it. We met at this little cafe downtown, and I remember feeling this strange combination of excitement and guilt. When I walked in, he was already sitting at a table, looking over the menu. He looked up when I walked in, and for a second, his face lit up. It was like he was actually happy to see me, and that made my stomach do this weird flip. Greg didn't look at me like that anymore. We talked about everything: books, movies, work, random thoughts. It wasn't even the subject of the conversation that mattered, it was how it felt. How easy it was to talk to him. How I felt like I could be myself around him without worrying about saying the wrong thing. Greg and I used to have that, back when we first met. But with him now, it felt like we had run out of things to say. It was always about the bills, the house, what we were going to do next. But with Evan, everything felt fresh, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I mattered to someone. I noticed the way he looked at me. Not just a casual glance, but really looked at me, like I was something worth noticing. He didn't do it in a creepy way, it was just different. When he spoke, it felt like he was listening to every word I said, really listening. Not just nodding and waiting for his turn to speak like Greg sometimes did. At some point during the lunch, he asked, "So, how's everything going with your husband?" Greg, right? And I don't know why, but I found myself telling him the truth. Maybe not everything, but enough. It's just, I don't know, I said, looking down at my hands. Things feel off. We don't talk much anymore, and it feels like we're just existing together, not really living. I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, but it's just hard, you know. He nodded, his eyes softening. I get it. Relationships can be like that. It's easy to get stuck in a routine. He smiled a little, like he was trying to make me feel better. You deserve someone who sees you, though. I don't know why that hit me so hard. Maybe because it was true. Maybe because I hadn't felt seen in so long. It wasn't like Greg didn't care about me. He did. He just didn't notice me the way he used to. Or maybe he didn't know how to anymore. After that day, things between Evan and I got different. We kept texting, and it became more than just work stuff. We started talking about our lives, our dreams, our frustrations. Every day, I'd check my phone, hoping there'd be a message from him. It wasn't even about him trying to flirt with me at first. It was just how easy it was to talk to him, how refreshing it felt to be listened to. I started to feel like I was seen again, in a way I hadn't been in a long time. And then came the day we were sitting in the break room, talking about some work thing. We were both standing up, and I reached for the same coffee mug as he did. Our fingers brushed, and I swear, the whole world seemed to freeze for a second. I pulled my hand back quickly, but it wasn't fast enough to hide the flush on my cheeks. I glanced up at him, and for a split second, it felt like he was looking at me differently. His gaze lingered, and I felt my heart race in a way I hadn't felt in ages. Sorry, I muttered, laughing nervously. I didn't mean to. No, it's fine, he said, his voice soft. It's just, you're always rushing around, always doing something. I just wanted to see if you were okay. He didn't say anything else, but the way he looked at me, the way his voice softened, something shifted in that moment. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was just there. I felt noticed. It was that moment, I think, when I knew I couldn't go back. When I realized that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as invisible as I'd been feeling. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted more of that feeling. After that day in the break room, things started to change between Evan and me. It wasn't a dramatic shift, but it was definitely noticeable. Every time we saw each other at work, there was this undercurrent of tension. Something unspoken, but present. I'd catch him glancing at me when he thought I wasn't looking, and I couldn't help but feel my heart race. I hadn't felt this kind of excitement in so long, and honestly, it was both thrilling and terrifying. But what scared me the most was that I was starting to enjoy it. I was starting to look forward to it. I couldn't stop thinking about him. It wasn't like I was planning anything, or even wanting to cheat. I kept telling myself it was innocent, that I was just flattered by the attention. But every time I texted him, every time we joked around at work, it felt like something deeper was brewing. And that's when the text started to change. It started with something small. A simple, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or, "I saw this, thought you'd like it," followed by a random meme or article. But it didn't take long before those texts became more personal. He'd ask me about my day, really ask me, not the generic, "How was work?" type of questions. He'd ask about how I was feeling, if something was bothering me. He paid attention in a way that Greg hadn't in months. And I didn't realize it at first, but I was craving that attention. One night, I sent him a message just to vent. It wasn't anything big, just me feeling frustrated about work and how disconnected I felt from Greg lately. I wasn't trying to get sympathy, but that's what I ended up getting. Evan responded almost immediately. "I'm sorry you're feeling that way," he wrote. "It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate. You deserve someone who appreciates what you do." And just like that, I felt like I was being seen again. It wasn't that Greg didn't appreciate me, it was just that I didn't feel like he noticed me anymore. He was always so wrapped up in his work, his deadlines, his promotions. He was working for our future, but I couldn't help but wonder if there was even a present for us anymore. The next day, Evan and I met for coffee again. This time, it was a little more intentional, a little less innocent. We both knew it, but neither of us said it out loud. I sat down across from him, and we immediately slipped into our easy banter. But there was this palpable energy between us, something I couldn't ignore. "So, how's everything at home?" he asked, stirring his coffee. He didn't look at me directly, but I could tell he was waiting for an answer, like he wanted to know more than just the usual, "Fine." I hesitated for a moment, looking down at my cup. "It's okay, I guess," I shrugged. "But I don't know, it just feels like we're both on autopilot lately, like we're not even talking anymore. Just existing." Avon didn't respond immediately. He just nodded, like he understood exactly what I was saying. "Yeah, I get that. Relationships can get like that. You think things are fine, but then one day, you realize you're just going through the motions." His voice was low, almost like he was talking to himself more than to me, but it hit me right in the chest. I took a deep breath. I don't know, I just feel like I'm not even noticed anymore. Like I'm invisible. He's always so tired, so busy. I try to talk to him, and it's like he's not even hearing me. I could feel my voice cracking, and I immediately felt a little stupid for letting my emotions show so openly. But Evan didn't make me feel stupid. Instead, he just reached across the table and put his hand over mine. "You deserve more than that," he said softly. It was a small gesture, but it felt huge. I looked up at him, and for a split second, I wondered if he could feel what I was feeling too. And that's when it happened. I didn't pull my hand away. Evan's fingers tightened around mine, just enough to make my pulse quicken. It wasn't a huge gesture, but in that moment, it felt like everything I had been wanting for months. Someone paying attention to me, seeing me, hearing me. "So, what do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you need right now?" I swallowed hard. I should have said something like, "I need to go home. I need to figure out my marriage." But I didn't. Instead, I found myself saying something I hadn't expected to hear myself say. "I don't know. I think I need someone who actually sees me, someone who doesn't treat me like I'm just there." Evan's expression softened, and then, without another word, he leaned in, his lips meeting mine in a kiss that felt like it had been building for months. The moment his lips touched mine, I felt this rush of heat flood through my body, a kind of relief, a kind of escape. It wasn't just a kiss. It was everything I had been missing, everything I had been longing for. It was the feeling of being wanted, of being noticed, of not just being someone's wife but someone's desire. I pulled away, breathless, my heart pounding. "I shouldn't have done that," I whispered. But even as I said it, I knew that I didn't want to take it back. Evan smiled, a slow, understanding smile. "It's okay. I'm just glad you're being honest with me." And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was being honest with myself. I wasn't pretending anymore. I wasn't hiding the truth, not even from myself. I wanted more than what I had. I wanted to feel alive again. After that, things between Evan and me escalated quickly. We started meeting more frequently, texting all the time. I told myself it was just a flirtation, nothing serious. But I knew I was lying to myself. And I knew, deep down, that I was already in too deep. It didn't take long before I was doing things I never thought I would. The lines I had drawn in my mind started to blur, and before I knew it, I was with Evan in ways that I couldn't take back. And that was when I realized I wasn't just craving attention anymore. I was craving something more. Something real. Something that wasn't just part of the routine. The problem was, I already had a life, a marriage, a future with someone else. But when you feel like you're drowning, when you feel invisible for so long, you don't always make the right choices. And I made my choice. It was one of those nights when everything felt like it was about to unravel. After that day, after that kiss, I couldn't stop thinking about Evan. The more I saw him, the more I needed to feel what he made me feel. Alive, desired, noticed. It wasn't just about him anymore. It wasn't even about Greg or our marriage. It was about me. About who I was when I wasn't just someone's wife or someone's responsibility. That night, I decided to take the plunge. Evan and I had made plans. He suggested we go for a drink after work. Just the two of us. It wasn't unusual for us to hang out, but tonight, it felt different. Tonight, there was something heavier in the air, like the world had already shifted and nothing would ever be the same again. I had told Greg I was going to bed early. He'd been working nonstop for the last few days, and I knew he was going to stay up late to finish a project. I could feel the tension building between us, but I didn't know how to fix it. I had tried talking to him, tried to get him to see what I was feeling, but he was too caught up in his work. He kept saying, "It'll get better, just wait a little longer." But I couldn't wait anymore. So, I kissed him goodbye, told him I was going to bed, and walked out of the house like everything was fine. But inside, I felt a rush of excitement I hadn't felt in a long time. I was doing something for me, something that was mine and mine alone. I arrived at Evan's apartment around 10:30 p.m. We had a couple of drinks, talked about life, and slowly, things escalated. He didn't pressure me, but I could feel the desire building between us. It wasn't just physical, it was more than that. I felt wanted in a way I hadn't in so long. And when it happened, when we finally gave in to what had been brewing between us for weeks, I didn't stop it. I didn't want to stop it. I wanted to feel alive. For once. I wanted to feel something other than the emptiness that had settled in my marriage. We spent the whole night together. It wasn't just proximity. It was everything. The connection, the intimacy, the feeling that I was actually being seen, being desired for who I was. Not just as Greg's wife. But as the night wore on, the reality of what I had done started to sink in. I was with Ivan, and I knew it was wrong. I knew I was betraying my husband, but I couldn't find a way to stop it. I felt both exhilarated and terrified at the same time. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a choice I had made, and now I had to live with it. At around 20:30 a.m., Evan held me in his arms, and we talked about everything, about how we felt, what this all meant. It felt like a fantasy, like it wasn't really happening, like I was caught in this whirlwind that I didn't know how to get out of. And honestly, part of me didn't want to. But then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Greg. "Where are you?" My heart sank. He was supposed to be working late. Why was he texting me at this hour? I quickly checked the time. 3 a.m. Before I could even respond, my phone started ringing. It was Greg. My stomach twisted. I didn't know how to answer it. I didn't know what to say. For a split second, I considered not answering, but then panic set in. What if he knew? What if he'd been checking up on me? What if he was already home? I answered the phone, my voice shaking. "Hey, Greg. What's up?" I tried to sound casual, like everything was fine, but my heart was racing. "Where the hell are you?" His voice was sharp, not angry yet, but there was definitely something off in his tone. "I've been trying to call you for the last hour. Why aren't you home?" I felt my chest tighten. I glanced over at Evan, who was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at me with a concerned look. I'm just out with some friends." I stammered, trying to cover up the lie. I lost track of time. He didn't sound convinced. "Don't lie to me, Emma. I've been home for the last hour, and you're not here. Why the hell aren't you answering your phone?" The panic rose in my throat. "I'm sorry, My voice faltered, and I looked at Evan again. He was giving me a sympathetic look, but I knew I couldn't stay. I had to get back. Greg was waiting for me, and I didn't want to risk him finding out. "I'll be home in 15 minutes?" I said, trying to sound reassuring, but the lie tasted bitter. Just wait for me? I'll be there soon, okay?" He paused for a long moment, and I could hear him sigh deeply on the other end of the line. "Fine," he muttered. "But we need to talk when you get home. This isn't like you, Emma." I swallowed hard. I didn't know what to say to that. There was nothing I could say. "I'll be there soon," I repeated, then quickly hung up. Evan was already standing by the door, his face unreadable. I knew what I had to do, but it didn't make it any easier. I grabbed my bag and put on my coat, my heart heavy with guilt. "I'm sorry," I whispered, looking at him. "I need to go." Evan nodded, his expression soft. "I get it. Just be careful, okay?" I didn't answer. I just nodded and left, my mind racing with what I had just done, with what I was about to face when I got home. When I pulled up into the driveway, I saw Greg's car in the garage. He was home, just like he said he would be. My stomach dropped. I wasn't ready for this. But I couldn't avoid it any longer. I walked inside, and the first thing I noticed was the silence. It was too quiet. Greg was sitting on the couch in the dark, his eyes fixed on the screen of his laptop, but he didn't even look up when I walked in. "Greg," I called out softly. He looked at me finally, his face tight. "Where the hell have you been, Emma?" His voice was low, controlled, but there was a fury behind it that I couldn't ignore. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I didn't know where to start. How could I explain what I had just done? How could I admit to him that I'd betrayed him? He stood up suddenly, his eyes flashing with anger. "You said you were going to bed early. Then I come home, and you're not here. I've been calling you for over an hour, and you've been completely ignoring me. What the hell is going on?" I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. "Greg, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Didn't mean to what, Emma?" His voice was rising now, his fists clenched at his sides. "Where were you? I've been busting my ass at work, trying to keep things together for us, and you're out here doing God knows what." I felt a lump form in my throat. I wanted to tell him everything, but I couldn't. I was scared. Scared of what he would say, scared of what it meant for us. I needed some space, I whispered, barely able to look him in the eye. He shook his head, his face twisted with hurt. "Space? Is that what this is? I've been here, trying to make everything work, and you." He stopped mid-sentence, exhaling sharply. No, I won't let you make excuses for this." I stood there, frozen, unable to move. The anger, the hurt, the betrayal, It was all too much. And in that moment, I knew we had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had already lost him. The silence between Greg and me hung thick in the air, a weight that felt impossible to shake. His eyes were wild, his hands trembling as he stood in front of me. He was furious, and I knew I had done something I couldn't take back. The look on his face, that mixture of hurt and betrayal, was something I would never forget. I opened my mouth to say something, to apologize, to explain. But I didn't know how. I didn't know how to fix this. I didn't know how to make it right. And deep down, I think I knew there was no way to fix it. We were too far gone. But Greg wasn't waiting for an explanation. He wasn't listening to anything I had to say, his fists clenched, and he turned around sharply, heading for the door. "Where are you going?" I called after him, panic rising in my chest. He didn't answer. He didn't even look back. I followed him, my heart racing, but by the time I reached the front door, he was already out of the house, slamming it behind him. I stood there for a few seconds, frozen, not sure what to do. I knew he was angry, but this felt different. This wasn't just a fight anymore. This wasn't about misunderstandings or miscommunications. This was something deeper, something irreversible. My mind was spinning. I needed to follow him, to stop him, to explain myself before it was too late. But before I could even grab my coat, I heard the sound of tires screeching from outside, the unmistakable sound of Greg's car peeling out of the driveway. He was speeding. He was angry. I grabbed my phone and called him. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. The fear crept into my chest, suffocating me. I knew he was angry. But was he really that mad? Was he really going to do something reckless, something that could hurt him? I ran to the window, pressing my face to the glass, watching the taillights of his car disappear down the street. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew I had to stop him. He couldn't be like this. He couldn't just leave. He couldn't throw everything away. I rushed out the door and into my car, the engine roaring to life as I sped after him. My mind was racing a mile a minute. I didn't know where he was going, but I had to find him. I had to make things right. I reached the end of the street when I saw it. His car, parked at an angle by the curb, its engine still running. My heart dropped into my stomach. I pulled up behind him, my hands shaking as I put the car in park. When I stepped out, the night air hit me like a slap, cold and biting, but I barely felt it. My mind was clouded with the thought of what had just happened. How everything had gone wrong so quickly, how everything had turned into a mess. I walked slowly toward Greg's car, hoping to see him standing there, to talk to him, to make him see reason. But he wasn't there. The driver's side door was wide open. I peered inside. The seat was empty. And then, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of something being slammed, followed by the sickening crunch of metal on metal. I froze for a second, the blood draining from my face. I ran toward the sound, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Around the corner of a streetlight, I saw Greg. He was standing in front of my car, his back to me, breathing heavily. His fists were clenched at his sides, and the front of my car was completely wrecked. The bumper was dented, the headlights shattered, the grille bent in a way that made me want to throw up. His eyes were wild, the anger burning through them, and when he turned to face me, I saw the raw pain that had overtaken him. "Greg," I whispered, my voice trembling, "what the hell are you doing?" He didn't respond. His jaw was tight, his fists still clenched, but he didn't move. He just stood there, breathing hard, his chest heaving as if he was fighting to keep control. "Greg, please," I said, taking a step toward him. "You're scaring me. Please just talk to me. Don't do this." He looked at me then, and I saw the rage in his eyes. Not just anger, but something darker. Something that was going to change everything between us. "You think I don't know what you've been doing? You think I don't know what he means to you?" His voice was low, venomous, each word like a slap to the face. "You think I don't know you've been lying to me this whole time?" I stepped back, my heart hammering in my chest. "Greg, please. I gave you everything." "Emma," he interrupted, taking a step toward me, his voice breaking. "Everything. And this is how you repay me? By fucking around behind my back?" His fists tightened even more, the knuckles white. I felt like I was suffocating. I wanted to explain, to make him understand. But I didn't know how. How could I possibly explain why I did what I did when it didn't even make sense to me? "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," I whispered, my voice cracking. "I didn't mean to hurt you. But Greg, you've been so distant. I don't know when things changed, but I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know. You don't know. He repeated bitterly, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. You don't know that what you're doing is destroying us. Destroying me. He slammed his fist into the side of the car again, making me flinch. You don't know how much I've been trying to hold this damn thing together. How much I've been working my ass off for us. And this is what I get in return. You sneaking around behind my back, acting like I don't give a damn about you? I felt a sob rise in my throat. I wanted to reach out to him, to apologize, to beg for his forgiveness. But I knew it was too late for that. I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. And then he did something I didn't expect. Without another word, he turned and walked away from me. He didn't look back. He didn't say another thing. I stood there, frozen, as the sound of his footsteps faded into the night. And just like that, everything fell apart. I don't know how long I stood there in the street, staring at the wreckage of my car, my heart pounding in my chest. But when I finally made it back home, I couldn't shake the feeling that Greg was gone. That the man I had married, the person I had once known, was no longer there. And I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know if it could ever be fixed. The house was quiet when I walked in, and the weight of everything that had happened crashed over me. I sank down onto the couch, my hands trembling, my mind racing. The truth was clear. I had lost him. I had lost everything. And there was no going back.